Hi, I'm Eleanor Harris. I'm one of the co-directors here at the Clifton Institute, and as you can maybe hear from all the spring peepers behind me, spring is on the way, and there is no better time of year than to start nature journaling. So I wanted to come on here and spend a few minutes explaining what nature journaling is, why I nature journal, and why I think you should get into nature journaling too. So, what is nature journaling? For me, nature journaling just means drawing and writing based on really close observations of natural objects, natural phenomena, really anything that you can find outside. And it means recording my personal experiences and my feelings about nature in my nature journal. There are lots of other words for similar practices, so if you call it something else, I would love to know. Tell us in the comments, and we'd love to hear your terms for the same thing. It's not about making pretty pictures, it's not about writing beautiful prose, it's just about recording what you're seeing when you get outside. So why do I nature journal? There are, I think, as many reasons as there are nature journalers, but for me, there are a few main reasons that I love to nature journal. So the first is to learn about nature. I can learn a lot by reading a book or maybe listening to a talk by a scientist, but it is amazing what you can learn just by sitting outside, paying really close attention, and especially recording your observations. Drawing and writing help you process what you're looking at and help you remember it for a long time. And a lot of the times, the data that you're recording can actually be really valuable scientific information. So it's important not just for you to learn about nature, but you can help other people learn more about nature as well. I also nature journal to remember all the time that I spend out in nature. Getting outside is the best part of my day, and being able to record what I'm finding out there helps me look back and remember all of the amazing things that I've seen out in nature. The third reason I nature journal is to develop my relationship with nature. I consider myself a nature lover. I love getting outside. I love learning about plants and animals. But since I've started nature journaling, which was really in earnest about a year ago, I find myself looking around with just so much more appreciation. So for instance, last spring, I nature journaled about a jack in the pulpit. And ever since then, all last spring, every time I saw a new jack in the pulpit, it just felt like I was finding a friend that I knew really well out in the woods. Last summer, at one of our summer camps, I asked our campers why they might be interested in keeping a nature journal. And one of the campers told me that she had a journal that she liked to use to keep all of the phone numbers for her friends. And at first, that didn't seem too relevant to a nature journal, but the more I thought about it, it is really kind of the same thing. As cheesy as it sounds, my nature journal is a record of all the friends that I have made out in nature and the information that I need to go and look them up again. And this spring, I am anxiously awaiting the jack in the pulpit to come up again, and I can't wait to nature journal about them again. The fourth and final reason is that it's just so much fun. It is my favorite hobby. It is the thing that I love to do more than anything else out in nature, and I think you might find it as joyful and rewarding and fun as I do. So what happens when you nature journal? Well, I want to tell a couple stories about some magical things that have happened in the last year or so since I've been nature journaling. If I can find the page. This is 2 pages, a spread of pages that I made last March at the Jordan River Trail in Shenandoah National Park. And you can see I was nature journaling about a wintergreen plant, and I made really close observation of one of the seed heads, the little fruits of the wintergreen. Then a couple months later, I was down hiking in North Carolina, and we saw a bush that had fruits that as I saw them, I knew they looked familiar, and I thought for a second, and I realized they looked just like the fruits of this wintergreen. And it turns out that we were looking at a fetterbush, which is in the same family as wintergreen. And if I hadn't taken the time to nature journal about the wintergreen, I would never have made that connection, and I would never have been so aware of the similarities of fruits of the same family of plants. So it was really cool to have made one observation months previously and then connected to something I was seeing in a totally different state. Excuse me. Another cool thing that happened last year was that Bert and Alison and I were walking down the driveway one evening, and we found the chrysalis of a monarch butterfly. So of course, at the end of the day, I had to go and nature journal about it, and I made this page in the course of an afternoon about all the things that I was observing about the monarch chrysalis. And because I had nature journaled about the chrysalis, I became really interested in the fate of that little caterpillar becoming a butterfly, and I really wanted to make sure it was going to be okay. So I went back at roughly the same time the next afternoon, and the chrysalis looked pretty much the same. And I went back the following morning, it looked pretty much the same, maybe a little bit further along. And I went back finally on the afternoon of the third day, and just as I got there, the butterfly was emerging from the chrysalis, and I also journaled about that. And if I hadn't journaled about the chrysalis in the first place, I would never have been so invested in its fate, and I would never have been able to see that perfect, magical moment when the butterfly was coming out of the chrysalis. And so by having taken the time to draw about it in the first place, I got to just see one of the most magical phenomena in nature. The third story I'll tell is it really just felt magical. In 2019, my husband Bert and I went to New Jersey. We like to go to Cape May, New Jersey every fall, and we were looking for a rare dragonfly. We spent an afternoon looking for a rare dragonfly called Martha's Pennant, and we weren't able to find one. In September 2020, we went back, and we went to a bog where we weren't even really hoping to find them, but we thought they might be around, and Bert started walking off to look for the dragonfly, and I got my nature journal out because I wanted to draw whatever I was going to see. And as soon as I got my nature journal out, what landed on a bush right next to us other than the Martha's Pennant? It just landed right there. I got to nature journal all about it. Bert got to see the dragonfly that he wanted to see, and it just felt like by nature journaling about it, I willed it into existence. It was just magical. And that kind of thing has just happened all the time. The more you write and draw and record your observations, the more that opens you up to all the magic of the natural world. So how do you nature journal? It's very basic. You grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. That's all you need to get out there and start writing and drawing. Just look around you, and whatever catches your attention, start drawing and writing about that, and you can keep following that thread until it gets dark and it's time to go inside. Sometimes that's easier said than done. Sometimes I get out there with the goal of nature journaling. I want to see a bald eagle catch a fish, and I want to see something really phenomenal that I can record in my nature journal, and it can get a little frustrating if all I'm seeing is, dead leaves and grass or whatever it is. But I find that if I slow down, pay close attention to anything that's around me, there are always many, many, many interesting things to see. The closer you look, the more there is to see. If you do get stuck, there are 3 prompts you can use to kind of get you going. And this is something that Alison and I love to use in our nature journal programs, but that we learned from really the godfather of nature journaling, as far as I'm concerned, John Muir Laws. This is his latest book, How to Teach Nature Journaling. And the very first activity in this book is called I Notice, I Wonder, It Reminds Me Of. And those are the 3 prompts that you can use anytime you're feeling a little writer's block, just a little stuck, you don't know what you want to draw or write about. These 3 prompts can get your creative juices flowing. I Notice helps us observe and see what's going on around us. It Reminds Me Of helps us make connections between what we're seeing and other things that we've seen or experienced in the past. And I Wonder helps us be curious and ask questions about what we're seeing. And it can feel a little silly, but even if I'm just sitting out here by myself, sometimes I'll say these things out loud. I notice, and as soon as I say those things out loud, my juices start flowing, and I start to have to finish that sentence and see what I can notice in all the things that are around me. That's the very basics of nature journaling. You can take it as far as you want. There is 1,000,001 things that you can do in your nature journal. If you want to learn more, I am leading a nature journaling program coming up on March 20th. It's all about the spring equinox. It's a really nice time of year to kind of take stock and watch the seasons change. I'll be leading one particular exercise, but if you are not interested in that in particular, just come and enjoy the afternoon of nature journaling with friends. This is also an excellent resource. It's called How to Teach Nature Journaling, which it is. It's a great resource for teachers, parents, educators, but I actually find myself using it more as a nature journaler than as an educator. It is full of a whole suite of activities with really detailed step-by-step instructions motivating why you should be doing this activity, how you should go about doing it, and how to kind of wrap up the activity so that you can build on it in the future. It is really an excellent resource. You can find it on John Muir Law's website. You can buy the book, and there's actually a free downloadable PDF of the whole book as well. And you don't have to take my word for it. My colleague Alison, who many of you know, actually wrote a blog post all about nature journaling where she gave her perspective on the practice as well as some resources that she found helpful. So I'll include a link to that blog post somewhere in the description. And I hope we will see you out here with your nature journal sometime soon. Either way, please share your nature journal pages with us on Facebook or Instagram or just by email. I would love to see what you're getting up to, and have a happy spring.